Hey, welcome back, friends. So I thought I'd do a video of my personal towing experiences. And this is not just RVs, this is boats, landscape trailers, skid steers, all of that fun stuff. I know a lot of you have taken towing advice from me, or at least have, I would like to look at it as me sharing my experiences and you taking from that what you will. So if my experiences led you to buy a certain hitch, that's all well and great. I'm glad I was able to help you. But in the end, I can only share my experiences, and I'm by no means an expert. I have no CDL, I have no special towing licenses, nothing like that. All of my towing has been some for work, but nothing big, and then except maybe a skid steer. And then mostly after that, just recreational. So, yeah, so today's just going to be me kind of letting you in on my lifetime of towing. So I hope you'll stick around. Okay, let me start by reiterating, I should say, that I'm not a professional driver. I don't have a CDL. I don't have any special permits, anything like that. And yeah, I have towed for work, but it's always been either a skid steer, a landscaping trailer, or a cargo trailer. It's never been anything that I would need a special permit for. At least not when I did it. This has been years ago, right? I don't even know the rules now about towing landscaping trailers or cargo trailers or skid steers. They may have changed, but yeah, at the time you didn't need any special permits. So I'll start with probably my favorite story, and that is I cut my teeth when I was 22, 23 years old, about 20 years ago. I worked a summer with my roommate, and he had a little grading business. By little grading business, I mean himself and a skid steer. And I would tow about half the time with him, tow his New Holland skid steer all around, the suburbs of Atlanta, North Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. And so I cut my teeth towing with a 1996 Ford 7.3 liter and diesel, of course, and extended cab. It was white, and the New Holland, I remember, was yellow. I looked up some pictures, and I'll put them up on the screen there. But yeah, that was a good summer. I did a lot of the raking, so I got in really good shape that summer. I was a laborer basically, and he would run the skid steer, and then half the time he'd tow it home, and half the time I'd tow it home. It would just depend. We'd take turns towing. But yeah, I cut my teeth early with that one because that one that was a heavy skid steer, and I don't remember exactly how much it weighed, but you could tell it was back there even with that 7.3. Now move forward a little bit of time. I guess a couple years later, I didn't really tow anything for a while, but Brooke and I got married, and then I ended up buying a Chevy Colorado, 2008 Chevy Colorado, and had wanted a truck, had a house, wanted to be able to go to Home Depot and all that good stuff, and truck's always useful. Didn't have a huge budget, so Colorado made sense. The economy had just dumped, and so times were kind of tough, and I wanted a fuel economy there. And yeah, I didn't really understand capacities. I knew tow capacity because obviously everyone advertises tow capacity, but I didn't know to look into payload and all that stuff. And I ended up towing a boat with that truck, and that was way too much trailer for that truck. But again, I was still cutting my teeth on that type of stuff. When I would tow it, it took forever to slow it down, and yeah, I shouldn't have been on the road with that combination. But I learned to take it easy. I learned that I needed a lot of extra time to maneuver and brake. If I ever had to do a serious maneuver, thankfully I didn't, I wouldn't have turned out very well, I don't think. But yeah, I ended up getting rid of that truck, realizing I needed a little more oomph in the front, and got a 2005 Envoy. And so believe it or not, Envoy had a pretty decent towing capacity, and it towed that boat significantly better. Boat wasn't that heavy, but it was too much for that Colorado. And the Envoy did fairly well with it. The Envoy didn't do well with its wiring and left me stranded a couple times, and then I became a Ford guy. So I bought a 2011 Ford F-150, my first big boy truck, I guess you could call it, and EcoBoost, first year they came out, first generation, and at first I didn't even want a V6, but after I test drove it, they pretty much talked me into it, and so got into the F-150. They pulled the boat like there was nothing there, of course. That wasn't an issue anymore. And then I also got into trade shows. And the trade shows I got into were gun shows, and I was selling ammunition and steel targets. And so my trailer was, I had a little enclosed trailer at that point, a little 12-foot enclosed trailer. It was probably overloaded, honestly. I had a couple blowouts with it. And again, you just, I guess I'm pretty dense. I was slow to learn, right? And so, but anyway, I had steel and lead ammunition in there, right? And so I towed that trailer and with that EcoBoost probably a little more than 70,000 miles. So most of my towing experience was with that combination for sure. Um, One of the things I left out, I believe, I worked landscape for an off season back when I played professional baseball, and I would tow with a company truck, a landscaping trailer. Forgot about that one, but yeah, it was just a regular landscaping trailer, two zero turns, all of the weed eaters and the blowers and stuff like that back there. I forgot about that, but there's a couple thousand miles there too. But back to the cargo trailer, I was with the cargo trailer for a little over 70,000 miles, and I had to do pretty much everything with that. I had to maneuver a few times out of accident way, and to avoid an accident, and then I had some blowouts, and yeah, trailer maintenance and all of that good stuff with that cargo trailer. Got out of that business, and but at that point, didn't have anything except a pontoon boat that we would tow some at that point, and of course the F-150 towed that with ease as well. I've got into our first RV. I still had the 2011 F-150 EcoBoost. This was a 2005, I believe it was, I'm pretty sure, Sprinter, Keystone Sprinter 26BH. So I think it maxed out at about 7,000 pounds, and overall length was about 28 feet maybe. And the EcoBoost, it pulled it great. It's even stopped it great, but yeah, it was the max that thing could handle. And once we moved up to the Imagine, and you guys have probably, if you guys have followed the channel, you've seen pretty much the rest of my towing experience. But once we moved up to the Imagine, I realized I needed more truck, and then moved to the 6.2 F250. That was a 2013 model, and that thing did great. I mean, it did fine. The only reason I moved to a diesel was just curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat. Moved to a diesel, so I've used a 6.2, the 6.7, and now I'm in the 7.3. Towed the Imagine with all of those. I did tow a 37-foot primetime LaCrosse with the diesel, and of course it did fine. And that was only a couple hundred miles. That was from my mother-in-law. She bought a used RV and helped her set it up in the mountains and all that. So a couple hundred miles with that. Several thousand miles with the Imagine. I'm guessing we're closing in on probably at least 10,000 miles with that Imagine. I'd have to go back and count. It's been a good bit. And then after that we went to the 7.3 Ford F-250 that we're in now. And with that truck, I've pulled the Imagine, I've pulled the Transcend, and now I'm in the Prototype. The Prototype is the biggest of all of them, and it still does well. And I'm in the Way-Safe now with the Transcend. I left the Pro Pride on our personal trailer, and then I'm using the Way-Safe on the big Prototype. So, a couple jet skis in there. That's about it though. You throw a couple jet skis, yeah, I think that's about it. A couple jet skis, car hauler once. I towed a Jeep home one time. That was interesting because that was a homemade trailer. That was very interesting. My granddad made that trailer, and yeah, I was ready to get that one back home. It was something else. It did the job though. Got the job done. But anyway, I don't know if any of this is good or bad. I'm not saying to listen to me more, or maybe you'll listen to me less. I have no clue. I'm just sharing my experience. And again, a lot of you have come to the channel for towing advice, towing recommendations, and I thought I at least needed to tell you what I've actually towed. So all in all, I would say at least 100, maybe 120,000 miles of towing under my belt. And again, I don't even know if that's good or bad. If I had to guess, I would say it's above average, especially for the vast population, the vast majority of the population. But some people tow 100,000 miles a year. So yeah. Anyway, thought I would to you guys to share. Hopefully, as always, you find the channel useful, and if you do, please consider subscribing. See you guys.